MiCA Saylor, who's like considered a cult person. It's like, he never really says it, but his predictions, his price prediction actually sort of like almost match the power law. And I find it a bit strange, for example, when he says in 20 years, Bitcoin going to be at 10 million. 12, I think he says 12 million, 30 million. Power law comes roughly the same number, 10 to 11 million. But then he says, well, the reason is the global wealth going to be at 4 trillion then. And if you assume wealth grows to 4 trillion and Bitcoin going to be 7% of the global. Like, why 7? Why not 2? Why not 15? It's like, that's strange. So I think there's a bit reverse engineering what he does to actually derive the same number, because he knows that he's a highly trained, highly intelligent guy, and he's fully aware of it.
Yeah, he understands math coming from the MIT. He
very,
does.
very, very well, very, very well. So,
and it's interesting for me because I think it's less understood just because it's a little bit of a harder topic for people. Like most people don't necessarily learn about the power law in school, or like something that they kind of have to grasp. And then you also have to grasp like how, and you told this to me, I think when we went to the restaurant, when you first saw Giovanni talk about, oh, Bitcoin is a power law, it was very easily for you to understand because you understood the power law and you understood, okay, like things grow naturally and then the network effects come to play. So it was an almost like easy idea for you to get. But I think most people probably haven't heard about the power law. I heard with Giovanni the first time about the power law. That's why our first episode, I think the first 1 hour, he just explained it to me and I'm like, what the heck is that? And so maybe that's, I think the reason why people don't understand the power law is the reason why they don't understand the power law with Bitcoin, I guess.
Yeah, that could be as well, and I think as well it has to do that people believe, like, how would you even come up with an idea that physics or math applies here? Why would that even like so? Because it's a market, it's like people trade with each other, and it's really unusual, and that models work. And by the way, I am the perfect example. I'm usually a guy who would say, of a guy who says, do not trust any model. I made, during my Wall Street career, in a subprime space, I was a derivatives trader. I used models to derive a price. But I understood as well to always try to understand the models of the guy on the other side and to say, what's the weakness? And on a bigger level, I got it as well that all the models we had, just big picture, they're bullshit. That's not gonna. So like even the model tells me I have to buy X, Y, Z amounts of subprime to hedge my short position. Like, nah, not gonna follow the model. I don't believe that for a second, because even it tells me I should be doing that, it's wrong, in my view. So I don't. I tend not to. I tend to be very careful around models. And by the way, the same beyond that, not financial markets, even when people talk about models and climate change, I'm like, really, like, that's not how science actually works. But here is something totally different at work. Here is as we said, a system of totally decentralized, a lot of different nodes interacting with each other. Constantly energy is being added. Like, you need energy. New people are being added. And based on that, these are the qualitative characteristics where you say you expect the power law. That's the way, for example, we human beings, we have all these billions and billions of cells, and we have the neurons working, and they're being formed. When you really zoom down, that looks very simple, everything, and there's nothing special. But the fact how it adds together, and we add constantly energy, we need 2,000 calories every day, which I talk about that one for a second. It's not a power law. We grow, and it emerges something like you, me, and the human beings. The power law does whatever it does. So therefore, what will be the reason why I think Bitcoin will go to 1 million? I cannot tell you, or like, because people are like, oh, could it be that and that? Like, I don't know. That's a beautiful thing. I didn't have to know that in 2019. I would have never predicted Trump gonna win 2024, or that we're gonna have a MiCA sailor, or that BlackRock gonna launch the ETF, and the SEC said it's absolutely fine. So I think that's a beautiful thing. I don't have to know any of that.
So, so is the main reason that Bitcoin follows a power law because it acquires real world energy and has the proof of work concept? Is that like the main reason for why the power law actually applies and the power law doesn't apply to like altcoins and things like that?
Yeah, I think energy is important, that you constantly have energy in. That's very important. That it's a highly decentralized system. That's actually that's the key thing. It's decentralized in terms of like the mining, the participants, who is buying and selling. So that's very important as well. And very important for power law to work is that there constantly new people join. That's important as well. If you just have a network which has the same amount of participants with literally no energy in and out, there's not going to be a power law. So that has been well studied in a network science, so science in its own. But I think if you have a growing system, like new participants, fresh energy, decentralized, and now another key point, you have certain hubs. What do I mean by that? Not equal. Every node is equal in terms of like, for example, I'm on the on the internet. I'm not a hub. I have like on X. I have like 9,000 followers. Michael Saylor is a hub. He has like millions. Elon Musk is a hub. He has 200 million. You are so like a mini hub, because you have much more. You see what I mean? There are different orders. And in Bitcoin, you have the same. You have like the exchanges, massive hubs. You have Michael Saylor, a big hub. And then you have like guys like me, like little hubs here. And then the little miners and miners at home. So that's critical as well. They're not all equal. They have their own hubs as well. And there's been tremendous research done already 20 years ago. And it's not because of Bitcoin, because it came about with the emergence of the internet. People started that's the ultimate like network where suddenly people are being connected, and that's been studied mathematically. It has been studied 50, 60 years ago, but not in the same rigorous manner, because they assumed usually there's a fixed amount of participant, it's not growing. But then, of course, you have like suddenly the massive network effect. We have the McCullough law, which is well known for decades now, that like a growing network, the value grows with the number of participants squared, which is easy to prove mathematically. Roughly, it's not exactly squared. So I think that's the point, that the network has been studied because of the internet, and now you have the wonderful, beautiful network called Bitcoin. Now, why doesn't it work for altcoin? I haven't really studied that in details. I've spoken to, I think, Giovanni. He studied that in much more details. It doesn't work for companies, and I think it doesn't really start for Bitcoin, for altcoins, because they have issuers, they have management. They're ultimately Ethereum, there's a management team behind, who founded it. These guys, it's a company actually incorporated in Zug, next to Zurich, Switzerland. So these are company structures. So there's some centralization. Bitcoin, I think, why it works as well is because there's a guy, Satoshi Nakamoto, who nobody knows who he was, what he was, where he was, and just disappeared. And it's no issuer. And I think that's an interesting point as well, because the SEC got it intuitively right to say Bitcoin is a commodity, it's not a security, and all the other securities. And I would say it like that: the minute you are a security, you're very likely not going to follow power law. Oh, but Michael Saylor, what the hell does he know what we don't know? Yeah, he has a bit more money than you. I don't know what I have. Definitely, I know that.
Also more than me.
And yes, he's a better known guy and he's important. He has his function, but to say, oh, but now we like, but he said it and there's a cult figure. I don't like this type of stuff at all, because I can tell you, I don't know where Bitcoin is in like 1 year, 1.5 years exactly. And this type of prediction I won't make, but I can say on a scale, longer term, that's the behavior, the long-term behavior. And is it going to be in 8 to 9 years at 1 million, or is it at 1.5 or at 750,000? Who knows? It's going to be somewhere in the channel, very likely, and that's good enough to know. And yeah, absolutely, this like idea. But this guy said, and he's so like, no, I'm not. Absolutely, I'm not buying that.
I have an interesting opinion on that whole thing, and I'm curious what you think about that, because I think a lot of people search for confirmation. They have a hunch, they have like an idea of something, and maybe they hold Bitcoin, but then if it breaks down or like crashes down like 10%, 20%, 30%, like it does now, they really search for someone to say, you are fine. Like, hold on to it. It will be tremendous. It goes to 10 million. It does all those things. It's almost that like hand holding. And I always say to those people, like, if Bitcoin goes down by 20%, 30%, and you're fearful on that, the only thing that you did wrong is not study deep enough, not look at it deep enough. Because if you have conviction, you know what Bitcoin is, you know this thing is actually great, and it going down actually means you have the great thing just cheaper right now, which is a great thing. Like, you get more freedom, you get more sovereignty, you get more UTXOs. If you know where Bitcoin is going, that's actually a great thing for you to do. And there's a lot of like confirmation searchers, a lot of people that, oh, I trust this guy and I want him to say Bitcoin is still fine and he is still holding. Like, there's a lot of those things going on, especially online.
Yeah, that's true. Having said that, Roman, you need sort of like two things. I think as humans we tend to like to get some confirmation, because otherwise you're a lonely guy. And I've seen in my own career, I talked about that in 2005. My boss, Craig Lipman, Big Short, by Gosling. Everybody should watch that. It's a great movie. And I was second guy. I'm not in a movie. People like my trade is not me. I was the last trade against Morgan Stanley, where they lost a lot. We won a lot. We shorted the subprime market in 2005, and everybody wanted to buy it, and we were the only guy in town who said you should short. We went to all the conferences. It was funny. Like in the room next to us, my room was like all the guys. It was filled with people. It was like, oh, how can I buy more of that? How can it be structured subprime? And in my room, I've like one experience I remember was like in Arizona. I flew down there, and the room next to me, like in the room I came after, the speaker talked about mortgage origination, subprime, best thing, since slice spread was invented. And then I came. Craig was another panel, so I came and gave my speech. And it was so bizarre. I walked in, there's sort of like new Craig, and like, it's typical Deutsche Bank short story. And they pretty much left the room. It's like 3 guys sitting there, like 2 were from our bank. Like, okay, that's strange. Nobody wants to listen to me. So you feel very lonely. And you really ask yourself, no, I'm not the smartest guy on the planet, neither is my boss. So how did that happen that all these Harvard guys thinks they're complete morons? And these questions were asked by our management from Frankfurt, like, and London, like, who the F are you guys that you think you know something, which these guys were like all the, like, do you have a Harvard degree? I don't have, Greg, like, I don't freaking, I don't know, but not really. What's Harvard? So, and, and of course, it's very tough to go through that. And then you see as well, the market is always going more and more up, works against you as well. So, but if you study that, if you really get very, what you say, very deep into that, and you say, you know, maybe we are really morons, and maybe we are really wrong, and everybody else is right. Could be. Unlikely, but okay. But if we are right, it's great for us. And it was. And what you learned as well, that then during the crisis, everybody was shell-shocked. And so were we, by the way. We didn't expect that outcome. And suddenly you look again towards the others, and especially your bosses, your authority. Oh, these guys, they know how to fix that. They had no clue. The system almost went down. Almost. They didn't know what to do.
The first thing that every Bitcoiner does, and the most important activity that every Bitcoiner keeps on doing, is buying Bitcoin. And I personally use Relay to buy and sometimes also spend or sell my Bitcoin. And there are two main reasons why I do so. The first one is it's Bitcoin only. They do not do any shit coins. They do not do any cryptos, any stocks, or anything else. This is a tool, an app that is fully focused only and solely on Bitcoin. The second one is self-custody. They give you the keys to your Bitcoin the moment you buy them. You never give them the control over your Bitcoin, and you don't have to trust them because you can verify that you and only you have the keys to your Bitcoin. There's no third-party risk. There's no freezing of your assets. There's no rug pulling. There's nothing of that. Download Relay, the app, on your phone, or go to relay.app on your browser and use code Robin to save fees and get cheaper Bitcoin. I want to tell you about something very special to me. It's called micro-seed. If you hold your Bitcoin in self-custody, and you should, you know how critical it is to secure your seed phrase. You should not have them on paper. You should not have them on anything else than titanium. With micro-seed, you can engrave your 12 or 24 word seed phrase, the entire seed phrase, onto a 1-inch small washer. Yes, just one washer. All 24 words on that one washer. You can hide that thing everywhere. And even better, you don't need to buy a new kit every time you have to get a new wallet. You can make unlimited backups because microseed is not selling the washer. Microseed is selling the device that stamps the washer. So you get the full kit with the device, with the washers, with the hammer, with everything you need to get started today, and you can make with that unlimited amount of backups. Go now to microseed.io.